Time salutations to all you internet dwellers out there, and welcome to another episode of Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick, and I am joined, as always, with Keelan. Hey, man. How you doing?
What's going on, brother? Doing pretty good. Can't complain. It is a hot, but not as hot as most recent. It's not sweltering on this Wednesday, but it's Hump Day. I don't think there's any special names for Wednesday lately.
I didn't know that the backs of my fingers could sweat until today.
The only proof I had that happens is in gyms, because some gyms are so small before COVID, people. Some gyms are so small and so tiny that when you put about 20 people in there who are actually working out, the back of your ears will sweat.
Oh, I believe that for sure. Yeah. I almost died in a Gold's Gym once.
That's hilarious.
So poorly ventilated. It was so hot. I almost passed out.
Right. And most Gold's Gym have that big open, like, what do they call those? The elephant or like the panoramic doors.
Mm-hmm. But it's still no ventilation.
No, of course not. Everything else is a still box.
Yeah, if there's no wind outside, you're getting nothing. Anyways, thanks guys so much for listening. We really appreciate all of you out there, and we hope that you're having a wonderful Thursday evening, or whenever you're listening to this. We thank you guys. Tonight we're going to be talking about one of your suggestions. A lot of people gave us some great suggestions in our RRR video comments, as well as our Sardar Udham video comments of more Indian film that you guys wanted us to check out. And so Keelan and I have decided that we're going to pepper in some Indian films from time to time and take your guys' suggestions and watch them when we have the time. And tonight we found that we had the time to watch BAAHUBALI, The Beginning, which is on Netflix. It's from 2015, and it's the same director and creator of RRR as well. His name is Rajamouli, S.S. Rajamouli. And yes, he created this in 2015. And I just wanted to I looked it up because I want to make sure that I got all my information right. And it was written by Rajamouli's father, I think. The story was written by his father. And he later adapted it. And this story, this movie was it was the most expensive Indian film ever made back in 2015 when it came out. I don't know if that still stands. I think maybe RRR might be more expensive, but this movie cost $28 million. And it was one of the biggest film cinema spectacles. And I think it made something around $100 million. So the return on investment was pretty good.
Pretty nice, yeah.
Yeah. And a little pedigree information for everybody here. Again, it was directed by S.S. Rajamouli. It was written by, and this is going to be hard, I need to be careful, Vijayendra Prasad. Yeah. Vijayendra Prasad.
That's an easy one. Come on.
All right. I'm just, I get nervous. And it stars Prabhas as Shivudu, Rana Dagubati as, Balaladeva.
Consensus, just want to share with the crowd, we both have an issue with Bahaladeva. See? Nope, not doing it twice.
I think there's two Allahs.
I believe so as well. And I think that's where I guess my American tongue just cannot keep up quite yet. I'm not there yet.
No, yeah.
Or at least I feel like I'm doing it wrong.
Yes. Also in this movie is Anushka Shetty and Tamana Bhatia, as well as a lot of other great Indian film actors like Satyaraj, who played Katapa, if you remember. But yeah, so this movie is a little bit in the RRR vein, where it's very epic, it's very bold and grandiose. This takes place in more of a, I don't know if it's considered a fantasy realm.
I was wondering that as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's like the cities, Mashimati. I think that's what it's called. I don't know if that city was actually a city back then, but
Mahishmati.
Mahishmati. Thank you.
Mhm.
But yeah, so this takes place in maybe in a sort of like dramatized world. A lot of fantasy elements here, a lot of sort of Game of Thrones-esque elements here, but it's about a man who is found by a little village, gets raised by two villagers who adopt him, later on learns that his lineage may not be just a humble villager, but could possibly be the second coming of a very great leader. And the movie's pretty much the story of that. Is about this this guy Shivu or Shiva, who sort of becomes the hero, and it's about his journey towards that. There's a lot of other ends and plot lines and storylines that we can get to, and I think we'll get to that. But I hope that that was satisfactory enough to explain the rough outline of the movie. And I've already talked too much, so I'm going to tell Keelan. Keelan, what's your first impressions of this film?
First off, I want to say two things. One, we can never talk too much. That's why we enjoy this so much. But I also, while you were giving that introduction, I looked up Mahishmati, and it's an ancient kingdom that is located in present day central India,
Perfect.
and in present day Maheshwar and Madhya Pradesh, which is the banks of Narmada, the Narmada River. I
Okay.
apologize for all of the. I'm pretty sure I did sound terrible trying to pronounce those, but I'm trying just so we have context. But yeah, that's so yeah. I don't. I'm. It's an ancient kingdom. I'm assuming that means it's not quite a fantasy place, but
Yeah,
it also
obviously
doesn't seem like a
it
place.
existed.
Yeah, but it also sounds like Greece or Rome in that lore, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure there are some fanciful elements to it as well.
Right.
I don't know if there's a waterfall that's that tall or golden statues that were that tall, although there could have been. That's very possible that the golden statue thing might have been real.
The statue thing, I believe, just because
Yeah,
of Africa and Egypt, all the things we know about
absolutely.
over there. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Oh well, I know India has them as well because of the Taj Mahal is an entire building built as a tribute to a king's wife, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. So
absolutely. Yeah, big architecture and stuff like that. So yeah, okay, cool. But you didn't answer my question, Keelan. What were your
I'm
first
sorry.
impressions?
I apologize. I did. So that was the one thing, and then the second thing was that as well. My first impressions. This was fun. I enjoyed this a lot. Um, my closing impressions, as well as my first impressions, I'll also have to say I don't like the bait and switch. You gonna force me? You gonna force me to just go? Okay, I don't get a choice to watch number two. I got to do it because I want to know the end of the story. Um, but overall, the movie I enjoyed it. I thought I'll say this up top. Something that I found very pleasant was they don't try I was just saying foreign films in general because it's not like I only see it in Indian films, but outside of America, it's like they don't do so much work as to make this fantastical thing seem real. No, it's fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantasy. Have fun with it. See it. You know, a lot of the action or fantastical elements, as you called them a little earlier, in regards to the kingdom, made me think of video game elements. You know, you could see the computer generated aspects of it, and that kind of made it more fun. It made it a little more. It made it more relatable to the psyche versus thinking like, oh man, they really live in castles and where the birds really talk and the trees really move. Like, no, that's nonsense. Now,
Mm-hmm.
as well as it's beautiful to see when we see it in those other films, but watching it in this, it jumped off the screen to me as a better portrayal of the art than it would have been if they tried to make it, I guess, more like a Western film. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go
Overall.
ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say to reply to that statement is I think that it's a little bit of necessity as well. You got to think a movie that takes like $25 million, you can spend that pretty quickly in a movie,
Yeah.
pretty quickly indeed. So they probably had a pretty limited budget. And if you look at RRR, you can tell Rajamouli's vision is much bigger and grandiose in that movie. So you could see that like he's doing the best with what he can. And so I definitely don't fault it for having subpar graphics. And I think there is a little bit of like, it's okay to suspend your disbelief a little bit. And the graphics are always in service to something that is like larger than life, whether it's, you know, beating up a whole, you know, army of people, or jumping across a gorge, you know, or climbing on the waterfall,
Riding an avalanche.
riding an avalanche. Exactly. It's always to like to boost the story and add more fun, and you know, that's fine with me. I don't necessarily mind that. I don't think that it's bad, and I did also quite enjoy this movie. I think that there were some elements that kind of dragged a little bit. Again, this is might be my it might be my attention span. I might be having an issue longer movies nowadays. So I'm not going to fault it for being long, but I definitely did feel a little bit of pacing issues in the middle of it. I think it picks up again at the end, which is funny because that's the bait that you're talking about. This whole idea of like hooking you for the next movie.
Right. This could have been a 3-hour movie, and they could have got that out the way.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't have a second movie for you to watch,
or a third,
right, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I had fun with it. I thought it was fun. I found myself kind of wishing that there were more dance numbers in it, to be honest. Like I had a lot of fun with the dance numbers.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I expected a little more music. I think once I really had gotten comfortable with the music, Deshaun's going to destroy us for saying this out loud. Once I got comfortable with the music and I was like, oh, so it has like more musical elements than, I was thinking it was going to have more music than RRR. And that was the last musical scene. And I was like, like I just kept waiting. Like, nah, music's not going to fit in the rest of the story. Like this just got serious. Like this is a real thing now.
Right.
And I was a little disappointed in that, but it made me consider temperature and remembering watching Indian films. I want to say this would be our third now that we're covering, but because we've been watching things, it's not my third in general. So what I started noticing is there's literally like 2 or 3 full stories in the movie versus them trying to just stretch one story. Like if the story is short, we tell this story and then we tell the other end of this story. And that's where I think the slow parts came in this movie, where you kind of got to sitting back, thinking to yourself and wondering, like, all right, what we here already? What's going on? What are we going to do next? And then it kind of just jumps right into the action.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, we just started a new movie. Like we're in a new story now.
Right.
And it was there. The other thing I like about that is not a lot of explanation needs to be done when they seem to change the guard from, you know, story A to story B. It's like, nah, you don't need to. We don't need to explain. We told you what we told you in this side. Now we're doing this. Put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. And Rajamouli does that also in RRR, where we go to Ram's flashback, where it's basically the last hour of the movie is about how Ram came to be who he is.
Right.
Yeah. So I wasn't thrown off by that the second time around because I had already seen it in RRR. So to me, it made a lot
more just his work that I'm picking it up from. That could be it.
Maybe it might be a staple in the storytelling structure, but I don't have enough experience to know that. But I could definitely see where the same ideas were followed in RRR as well. But yeah, I don't know, man. What do you want to talk about when it comes to this movie?
Man,
it's a long one, so I don't know if we can recant the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll be a beat by beat type of a deal, but
yeah.
I think this is one of those movies that unfortunately will suffer from me saying, I don't know, I just enjoyed it a lot. And I did. I absolutely did. I caught myself rewinding a bunch of scenes. So I was actually from the very beginning, from the introduction of BAAHUBALI, I don't know.
BAAHUBALI.
Right. I'm just trying to get the enunciations proper. But at the beginning, when the name is erected by the pull train of wagons and animals and people, that reeled me in immediately. I was like, "Oh, we about to be silly, but we about to tell a good story."
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would say one thing is from the very beginning, you know, this is going to be a fantastical type of a thing. It almost struck me like a Mel Brooks movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it almost hit me like a Mel Brooks movie. Name one, really doesn't matter. So the beginning, we see the lady and she's running down the hill. Nope, not gonna sing that song. Uh, and then she ends up holding the baby up, praying to Shiva, and again, it just turns into this fantastical thing. But something that threw me from the very beginning was that the village people came and they found this baby, and it's like, oh no, the baby came from up there. We're gonna block the path and keep it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, what is? That's not. You don't do that. That's not okay. Like, why would that happen? So that
And because they
immediately
found the soldiers, and they
that were
thought,
dead.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah, they were like,
just
oh, well, they
saving
were
the
gonna.
baby.
Mhm.
You know, I understand what they were thinking. It's just kind of like, okay, but
Yeah.
it set the stage for. I wasn't sure how they were gonna go with it. Was he gonna be a part of the bad tribe? Were they gonna go with what they went with, which is, you know, him being this savior deal? That was intriguing because I can't remember the last movie that I actually cared about in Western cinema that had that same template. It's been a while. Like that's an old template of you know, Herculean type stories where it's
Hercules.
like, oh,
Yeah.
we gotta save the
Moses.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen that in a while, so that automatically reeled me in.
Superman.
Damn, Superman was one of those same type of. Dang, I didn't even realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that reeled me in heavy because it's something about those type of stories where essentially he kind of became the Mahashmati Superman. That's who he was, you know. It's something
Um,
about those stories that keep me interested. They keep me engaged.
so let me clear this up because I was having a hard time. I'm assuming that Bahubali is Shiva's father, right? Is that what I'm supposed to get from this?
I was thinking yes, but no.
Okay. No?
Um, so Bahubali it was reincarnated through Shiva,
Right. So
and
it's not his father?
it's not his father. It's just literally
Okay.
just a reincarnation. It seems
Okay.
that came back 25 years later. And what the only thing that's weird to me is so that would mean that Bahaladeva would be 50.
Yeah.
So he would be
He looks
50, and
good for
then
50.
it looks amazing for 50, you know?
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that made me think like I see how they would sell the 50 is he had a fuller face of hair and he
Hmm.
was just big. Like his size was his age
Yeah.
versus his father who was already disabled. His wisdom or his cunning was his age. So
Hmm.
his sleuth, so to speak, was his age. And then you had the son, the prince, and his brashness, his lack of understanding in the way of things was his age. And I think they
Hmm.
were more so showing age through behavioral mannerisms rather than exactly what you look like, because the embodiment of something that is great really doesn't. It's not destroyed on the outside. It's an ageless body almost because everything that matters is inside through experience. That's how I envisioned that. But let me break down how I heard the structure
Hold on
of.
just a sec.
Yes, sir.
Hold on. Your mic is blowing out. You might
No
need to turn
way.
it. You got to turn it down a little bit because when your voice peaks, it blows.
Got you. Got you.
Sorry, I just didn't. Yeah.
Let's see where. Oh wow, yeah, I'm super high. How about now?
That's fine. Yeah. As
Okay.
long I think it just, it was overloading the mic.
You know, I see
Uh,
it was almost double where I usually register it at,
yeah.
so I could understand how that was happening. Um, what was I saying? Oh, so I'll break down the structure from the way I understand who he is and how it came to be.
Uh-huh.
So he is uh Dehasvana Devasana.
Devasena.
Yeah, Devasena, that is his auntie. He and Bahaladeva are cousins. And what happened is his mother, I mean, excuse me, his father was the king. He passed away. He was in his mother's belly still. She was 6 months pregnant. She died 3 months later, which says to me she died in labor. So she died giving birth to him. He showed his strength when he was able to hold on to his auntie's finger the way he was. So she took him as her own and raised him alongside of his cousin as if they were brothers. That's what pissed off the dad, right? Um,
Wait, who
uh,
are we? I'm
we're
having a
talking
hard
right.
time here.
I get you. I get you.
Okay.
So Bahubali, right?
Yes.
And Bahaladeva are cousins.
Okay. Yeah,
Devasena,
it's kind of like Ramses and Moses.
exactly. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly it. Where,
Mm-hmm.
well, except for Moses wasn't exactly. He was really just a baby they found. He wasn't an actual cousin, like actually in the bloodline.
Right,
But
right. But adopted.
outside of that,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
exact same story outside of that, and that's really what happened. So then he gets killed, which I'm sure is the story we're gonna see in part two. Who kills him? How he gets killed. And I guess she has another baby, or there's another baby that fulfills a prophecy. And whomever they said her name, and I didn't catch it, but the lady who ran down the mountain with him, who almost looked exactly like Devasena,
Mm-hmm.
um, she was like a priestess of some sort.
Right.
So I guess she was like the protector of the
Mm-hmm.
reincarnation, and then he ended up down there, and that's what protected him. And because this is an ancient or mystical kingdom, it was not mystical, excuse me, because it is an ancient kingdom, I'm assuming that if we knew more about Indian history, that part might make a little bit of sense as far as reincarnation, whether it be through Shiva or another ideology that we may not just understand or know much about. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking that part was more religious, the reincarnation of him, because that's what it came off as. Even when it
Yeah.
rained and his face fell off.
Right. Yeah, Bahubali means one with strong arms, and he's a figure in a much revered figure among the Jains, and is said to have meditated motionless for a year, and
Oh,
and after had attained omniscience, so he attained like godlike
right.
abilities. Yeah.
Which is that explains the belief in the reincarnation of him. That
Mm-hmm.
alone.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's wow, that's pretty
He's the
cool. I should have looked at it.
embodiment of the spirit of Bahubali.
Bahubali.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's a reincarnation. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
guess that's not really a reincarnation because if he
Because
doesn't
they only
fulfill,
recognize him as Bahubali when he has that
excuse
look.
me.
When he
Yes,
has that look in his face, it's almost like he's channeling Bahubali
that's what I'm
almost.
trying to think of. What is the name? Like, what do it? I guess channeling would be it, but because I wouldn't call it being possessed,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like he can tap into that essence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it was meant when she kept saying, my son will come back. It's like, the memory of him will be revived. And that
Mm-hmm.
memory, that belief, that power, that structure alone will destroy all of this shot and built. I thought that was really cool, like overall, because I did start thinking that, like, okay, he's him, but he's not him. Because it's not like, as far as, in this movie, they never have that, like, oh, hey, I'm your mom. Like, he is told that's his mom, but there's really no mom son moment in that.
Yeah, that's why I was very confused. um, because I know like Shiva is, I mean, like I was thinking that Shiva is the like son of Bahubali, but
Mhm.
maybe I don't. I mean, they haven't confirmed that,
We haven't gotten there. Yeah, maybe
right?
they say something. Maybe he is. Maybe I guess unfortunately we will have to consider an illegitimate child.
Maybe
Because there was no one to
you
say he
did
was
see
married.
the dance with the three
You're
girls.
right. I kept thinking the
Very
same
sort of
thing.
suggestive of maybe,
He laid with somebody, and that's the funny
maybe,
thing. You say that. I was thinking the same thing during that dance. I'm like, are one of these she was mom, real mom?
maybe,
And
yeah.
then we find out like, oh, that was her, and that's who ran down the mountain with him. But no, but they
Hmm.
said, well, yeah, she died 3 months later. That could have been his mom.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're gonna have to watch the second one to figure it all out. We
Good
only have
job.
half the information right now.
Yeah, I think that's the more interesting part is we only
Yeah.
have half the information, so we can only talk about what we've seen, and not we to speculate on it would almost be futile because it's there. We just got to go watch the
Yeah.
source.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I enjoyed the beginning portions of the movie, him and his struggle to climb the waterfall. I thought that was kind of
That was
cool.
good.
I like how what's homegirl's name?
Anathika,
Yeah, Anatika. I like how she sort of emerges as this almost water spirit.
Ava, Avantika, sorry, or Avantika.
Avantika. Yeah, Avantika.
Yeah, Avantika. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, I like how she sort of emerges as this sort of waterfall water spirit to help Shiva climb the waterfall.
She reminded me not only of what do they call that, the river goddess. But well, I guess this is still the river goddess. But remember in LDR, Love Death Robots,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that very last, that's what it
Yes.
immediately, that was the first thing I thought
Same.
of, which also gave that way more, made that make a little more sense because it was like, if we view it like a foreign film, it's way different. And I went back and watched it, and it looks way different if you don't think of it as a Western film.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like that. I like that episode. I really enjoyed that episode. But yeah, then we find out that Avantika is a part of this sort of I guess you could call them rebels. They're rebelling against the illegitimate king of you're gonna have to help me again. It's Mahashmati. Thank you. Which is Bahala Deva. He's not, he is the king, right? And his dad wasn't the king. His dad was just he's always just kind of been around.
His dad was the baby daddy to the last living heir, which was the auntie or his mom, well, Bahala Deva's mom, or Devasana. Let's just call it Devasana.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, she's Avantika is a part of this sort of rebellion that's been dedicated to freeing Devasena because she's been imprisoned for 25 years in the kingdom by Bahaladeva.
And that was I think that's the main part that throws all the timing off when you find out she's been locked up for 25 years. It's like, well, that explains why you look like a whole different person.
Oh yeah, she definitely looks different. I didn't know that was the same person for a minute. It took me a while to connect the dots, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. That's the queen. I just thought it was Shiva's mother, and I was like,
technically, yeah. But that was the more interesting thing. Even when I looked, when I looked at the cast and I saw the actual actress that played Devasena, she doesn't even look like either of those characters. No, I'm just keeping it honest. It's like I was like,
weird. We might be missing.
She's
something.
A chameleon. No, I think she's just that. I think she's one of those people who can just change her face and be somebody totally different, which is a strong characteristic in this field of work. As an actress, that's beautiful. What was my point with that? Oh, that was. Nope, I forgot my point.
That's all right. We were talking about Avantika and her rebel army. She's been on a mission to basically free Devasena from the city. She gets chosen by her commander to go carry out this mission. And of course, Shiva stumbles upon her, having dreamed her while he was climbing the mountain. Right. He seeks her out and proceeds to court her, which is probably one of the most balling courting moves I've ever seen.
Oh, listen, you climbed a mountain for me?
He climbed a mountain for her, and then they had a battle, and he just gave her a complete makeover while they were fighting.
I was saying, what battle? Wasn't no battle.
A battle, yeah.
And when you got his genetics, apparently, you just suave. She's swinging at you with a sword, and you popping off her armor and bringing her down to her bra and basically her skivvies. I'm assuming that was the essence of,
and then putting lipstick on her.
Right? Lipstick, gonna put
tussling her hair.
Well, I tell you, I was like, hold on, rewind. Let me get that move down. How do you do
Kind of
that?
reminded me of the Zohan a little bit, like the Zohan
Dang.
making a woman over or something
Uh-huh.
while he's fighting a spy.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Man, I haven't seen that in a while. That's a good reminder right there.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought the entire scene of the way they met from the first tattoo that almost caused her to lose her livelihood, and then the
Hmm.
second tattoo where she literally strays away from the path of her livelihood. Um, I thought that development was great, and that's something I think when going back really quick to what you were saying about time, that's something I think is done very well in Indian films, at least the ones we've seen. Yes, some of the pacing is a little slow, but they give you time to feel the essence of what's going on. So even though we're reading subtitles, we don't understand the language, so we have to read the subtitles and kind of pay attention to what's moving around on the screen. What you do see in the embodiment of everything, it's more of a feeling.
Hmm.
And even if you're not, you could turn the subtitles off. You'll still have fun watching it and having no clue what they're saying.
Hmm.
And that's something that I think is carried over again very well in Indian films that we've seen so far, not just in this one.
Yeah, I did like the little interlude that they had, this like romance section, because the story's moving along, and then basically once they meet each other, they go into this sort of like romantic song and dance, and they leave the entire like movie behind and go into like this dream world.
And the great thing about that is it's so funny. I was I forgot where I was, but I was thinking to myself, I wanted to rewatch that. Just that entire scene. I wanted to rewatch it. Punch it up on YouTube for sure. Just that scene is isolated, crisp from the very beginning of her shooting the first arrow at him all the way into the end of the flower falling into the waterfall hands. It's like
Hmm.
it's absolutely perfect. And it let me know immediately, like, yeah, that's a short film within itself. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure to those who are familiar, which I'm sure is outside of India, I'm not actually sure because I don't know how long this movie's been on Netflix. I'm not sure how long it's been circulating. Um, I always say that because I always revert back to Scarface. Nobody knew about Scarface until it was out of theaters. So sometimes things take a while to develop. Um, but overall, to know that that scene, just that clip was out there, it's like, okay, that's one of the more pivotal scenes. And
Hmm.
it's good work. Good work can always be clipped out like that and still be enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's totally out of context if you don't watch the movie.
Yeah. So after their tryst with each other, Shiva basically sort of vows to take
Your duty
uh,
is my duty.
Avantika's struggle and go save Devasena from the
Right.
city,
Right.
um, which he then intends to do. Which is kind of a fun scene where he breaks in and he's having to fight all these people and breaking into this palace, and then he has to kind of like sneak in. He's wearing the guard's uniform, and then he just outs himself to the
Clever.
king.
Yeah. Which I thought was dope because it's like, oh, you that guy.
Hmm.
Like you don't give no cares. Like you just
Apparently not. Yeah.
like you want to see the size of my donkeys. Here you go, sir.
Right.
Ah. Um, but adding to that, I think that's something of so you consider Bahubali, Devasana, they had an entire following, right? And then you even go to Katapa, who at first I'm thinking like, oh, okay, he has to save the king because he said, I'm devoted to your family. But then you realize, oh, Bahubali's family, Devasana's family, like
Hmm.
he has to protect all of them. It's not just one or the other. So the moment he realized it was kind of like, oh, my lord, my king, he's like, bro, I can't touch you. That's against the rules.
Hmm.
Um, but to see how skilled he was, see how skilled Bahubali was, even just the um the whole tribe, like the whole group of assassins, like these were all trained killers. And I had to really consider this is a calling, So it's like even the weakest among them, like the farmers and the teachers among them, are still stronger than your average warrior in your county because that's what they do. That's literally who they are. And that was kind of, to me, that made more sense by looking at Katapa. Like, listen, buddy, and the way he played around with the swordsman for a while, and then he just like, all right, let me show this guy something real quick so he could sit down. To the point of which old boy wanted to buy his freedom.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I'll pay 100 times. Like, skip. Like, sir, a lifetime of servitude. You can't give 100 lifetimes of servitude when I already happen to give one.
Yeah.
But yeah, those type of things jumped off to me as well, just because it made me think about the culture that they come from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought it was a good scene. I thought him sort of confronting the king and then burning the room was fun. He then proceeds to escape with Devasena, taking her back to her group of rebels.
Trying to slapped by a tree branch.
Yes, that's true.
Now that's the same when you take out Hercules. So
just he got hit by that tree branch pretty hard. And now that's when he has the square off with the prince, right?
Yeah, if that's what we call a square off.
Well, yeah, not really a square off. He had more of a square off with a Tapa or what's his name?
Katapa.
Katapa, yeah.
It was more like a round off. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Young man stood no chances, and he knew he didn't stand a chance. But I give him that. He had heart until he didn't.
Yeah.
He thought he was about to run in there and be that guy, and it's like, bro, he don't have that fear of you. He don't even know you. What he does know is he's probably the strongest man that y'all ever seen. So he about to just off you with no question.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I thought that was actually really cool because that was that reminder kind of towards what you were saying about him having to channel Baahubali, which was when they smack him with the branch, he wasn't expecting it. And when they smack him in the back of the head and knock him out, he just wasn't aware of what was going on around him. Mm-hmm. So they knock him out, but the moment he wakes up, he looks around, he sees Devasena being choked and tortured again, kicks him right in the drive. Mm-hmm. He screams, goes Super Saiyan, and beats up everybody.
Kicks ass, man,
for real. Like, for real. So once that happens, and then everybody is arriving, the war starts. But once he chops off the young man's head, he goes to war with Katapa. He loses his face, a real face-off moment. But I thought that was cool as well. He loses his face in the middle of the most deadly fighter in all the lands charging at him. And then you realize, like, wait, nope, can't kill you. Can't kill you.
Mm.
So, yeah. And then came the explanation of everything.
Right. Yeah. And then we get the flashback, which is the second, I guess the last third of the movie. Which becomes the story of Devasena and her two sons, Baahubali and Bahalala Deva. Mm-hmm. And they're both very mighty. They're both very strong sons. They're skilled. They got super strength. They're the best at everything. But Devasena being a I don't know. A shit-starting mother. She says that she's going to choose the best out of the two to be the king of Mahishmati.
Now, is that her being a shit starter or the uncle or the dad? Her husband. I think her and her husband are both kind of messy. That's technically her husband, yeah, but
really?
She's the one in power, so
I have no idea.
All right, the way they explained it was he's always frowned upon because of his disability. And I have made the same mistake that I usually make. I'm going to have to grab that plug. But yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. I get that for sure. But so the flashback really is concerning the claim to the throne that Baahubali and Bahalala Deva contest for. And it all culminates in this giant war that they're having with I forgot the nation's name. Kyaleka, something like that, I believe. Yeah. Which is this army of 100,000 people that are about to invade the city. They have to put up their best defenses, and it's agreed that Bahubali is gonna run one part of the army, and Bahala Deva is going to run the other part of the army. And whoever brings the head of this, the chief of this horde's head, Kalakea, thank you. Whoever brings the head of this chief will become the king of Mahishmati. So that's a pretty fun scene. There's a lot of action in this war scene. Bahala Deva, yeah, he's got a chariot with a helicopter sort of like set of swords that just chop people in half.
That is a grinder. That was a pretty cool, like, medieval style weapon right there.
Yeah.
Just not the whole part where he cuts through his own people.
Right. Yes, and in this you see that you start to see that Bahala Deva has a desire for the power, maybe more so than Bahubali does. Mm-hmm. And it's very apparent that Bahubali has sort of the interest of his people, and he's a much kinder soul. He doesn't sacrifice the cow before the war because he figures that he'll just give Shiva or Vishnu. Is it Vish? No, it's Kali. Is it Kali? I think that was Kali. Maybe. I'm so sorry.
You know what? I am less familiar, so
it could be Shiva probably. But yeah, he gives her the blood of himself instead of the cow, demonstrating that he's sort of a magnanimous person. He has his, he doesn't want to harm things that aren't needing to be harmed.
I thought that was really cool, actually.
Mm-hmm. And so this giant, oh yeah.
I was just gonna say, you don't often see that even in your hero builds nowadays. A lot of times we have heroes who are just as vile as the enemy nowadays, as the villain, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So to have that image of a real hero, someone of high moral standard and value, next to basically his brothers, they were raised in the same house under the same tutelage, and they are so polar opposite in that light. I thought that was a really big highlight.
Yeah, for sure. So the whole scene is basically this giant war, and it's about the two brothers vying for the head of this chieftain. And it looks like Bahubali is going to be the victor, because he gets the chieftain and he uses his brother's lion head mantle thing as like a glove, and he just starts punching the chieftain's head, and then he grabs the chieftain with it and he drags him towards the queen, Devasena, to show that he's about to chop off his limbs. And just before he's able to kill the chieftain, Bahala Deva kills him instead.
Yeah.
Takes his kill away.
Yep. Steals his victory. He had him dead to rights. You dirty.
Yeah.
And even with him doing that, what I thought, again, just an example, more of also like a Cain and Abel type of a situation where Bahubali was even after thinking his brother was going to be given the rights of king, he was happy for him.
Mm-hmm.
He even had a little smile of like, all right, you did your thing. Like, that's how a real thing, in his mind, almost seemingly like that's what a real king would do. Make sure I get it. Like, no, I'm not giving it to you. And he almost revered his brother for that. But seemingly you knew immediately, if it were the other way around, he still would have tried to kill his brother. And I have speculation on how that goes down, but we'll do that in a minute.
Right. Then Devasena basically says, because like Keelan points out, Bahala Deva was careless with the people and sacrificed some of the innocent people's lives to get at this chieftain who is using them as hostage. And so she makes this distinction that Bahubali saved more lives, and you can slay 100 men, and I'll call you a great warrior. But if you save one life, you are a god, which is a great line from Devasena there.
Yeah.
So she says Bahubali will now be the king because of the way he was courageous in battle, but also tried to look out for his people.
Rightfully so. I mean, I don't know.
So.
I think that would be especially in film. We know in diplomacy in real life that ain't really a thing, but in film, that's who you always want to win. You always want to root for the person who cares about the people around them.
Mm-hmm.
In fantasy, in real life, you do that, you probably gonna end up right there with them.
Yeah. Well, it works in fantasy, and that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so and then we kind of get this cliffhanger where we flash back to the present, and we are told, but yeah, basically Shiva is asking, okay, so what came of this Bahubali? And Katapa is like, he was betrayed, and Bahubali's by who? What person could have done this? And
Katapa great says, warrior.
A very great. It was me. Dun dun dun.
And I wish the screenshot we had was that slice in the back. That run through, that was crazy. I was like, all right, look, I don't think they had any run throughs that good this whole movie, and we get to see it in a silhouette only. That was very nice.
Right. And so apparently Katapa was responsible for Bahubali's death, but you do not find out until Bahubali 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo. What is, I am curious, what is Bahubali 2 called?
Because the conclusion.
The conclusion.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's number 3 called? Anyway. The Re-Beginnings? What? Get to me. But yeah, no, this was key. It was a really good movie. I also liked something else that was actually we skipped over just a little bit during the war scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were actually headed towards it, and I cut you off, and then we didn't go any deeper into it, which was the ingenuity of the weaponry and the way that they were both the military was split. They were given the same amount of military soldiers, but they weren't given the same amount of resources.
Right.
And because Baladeva was given literally all of the weapons and all of those things, Bahubali just was like, yo, all right, well, give me some kerosene and all the tents. I got it. Don't worry about it.
Right. Pretty smart.
Right.
It's flaming blankets. Launching flaming blankets.
Taking out entire platoons.
Yeah.
It's like, pretty smart. I don't even know. I don't know. Now, also, it's interesting because something else I thought of in the way this story played out, in the roundness of, the familial aspect, everyone is a servant outside of the castle. Just pretty much how it was set up. But what's so cool about it is in the story and the players we see outside of what's her name? Avantika. Aside from her, who is clearly the love interest of Shiva, I guess Shiva, but not Bahubali. We'll figure that out. But aside from her, every main character can't die. If they had died, everything in the story would not make sense.
Yeah, right.
And that kind of just jumped out to me right now as we're closing out. Like that's actually really interesting. If they had killed even the uncle, the disabled guy, even if they kill him, we're gonna end up missing certain things because you would try to figure out like who was rooting for Baladeva if mom was rooting for her nephew for Bahubali. So
yeah, which I think we'll probably find all the answers to in the next one.
Next time on Bahubali.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, man. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up before we wrap this up?
Fun movie. I haven't watched anything in a while that made me not want a sequel, but I know the sequel's there, but made me want to like literally just go hit play on the sequel as soon as it ended. But this did that. It's been a while.
Nice. Yeah. I think that's it for me too. So I think we should get into our ratings for Bahubali: The Beginning.
I said it feels like you wanted to say we should get into it, yeah, but I'm just throwing that out
Yeah.
there. Hilarious. Yeah, no, definitely. Let's get into some ratings on this. Final thoughts and ratings for me. Enjoyable movie. I don't have a lot of, I've realized that sometimes when you have certain types of question, it comes off negative. So I don't have too many added questions. I am really interested in what happens next. And certain parts of this movie, and I think it could be because of the last few films we watched that are Indian films, having some kind of a historical reference. I'll be probably deep diving this a little bit more between now and when we cover part two, just to find out if there's anything deeper than just Mahashmati being an ancient, almost folkloric type of a situation.
Mhm.
Um, and I say that with all respect and reverence because I would say the same thing about Rome or Greece. We know they're real places, but they have a very folkloric history to them.
Mhm.
Um, with that, I'm gonna give this movie an 8.5. No hesitation, no thoughts, no explanation. 8.5 for part one of Bahubali. But if part two does not get an 8 for me, then you understand.
Mm. Right. Yeah. I enjoyed this movie a lot. I thought this was a lot of fun. I like Rajamouli as a director. I think he tells some pretty interesting stories. I do also like that it's a sort of an adaptation of a story his father wrote, which is kind of nice. It's a little homage there.
Right.
Um,
That's where the point five came from, is the
right.
coolness of that.
Oh, for sure. I if I would be dishonest if I said I like this as well as RRR. I think there are elements of this movie that are really great, but I just don't think that it hit as well for me as RRR did. Nevertheless, the acting was a lot of fun. The story is a lot of fun. The visuals are funny and also fun and off the wall, which is kind of refreshing to watch, especially since Western cinema and movies are so grounded in reality and they try to be so realistic. I
Right.
I
We're supposed to
definitely
believe vampires live next door to us and stuff.
right. Yeah, I definitely don't mind having flights of fancy and having larger than life characters, and it's really nice to see that. I don't know if I'm in the 8.5 range. I think I'm more in like a 7.5 range. To be honest, I think this is a great movie. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed myself. Is it a 9 like RRR? Nah. Um, and I think it's good at a 7.5. It's a solid flick. You're not gonna not enjoy it. That's for sure. I definitely recommend it. If anybody hasn't seen it out there, you should go check it out. Now that score might raise if Bahubali the conclusion is really good, then maybe overall it bumps it up. But for right now, it's a 7.5 for me.
Definitely. If it has a strikes back type of a feel, I don't know. Um
Right.
oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. No, definitely. And to be clear, that point five comes from creation standards. Just to take another person's work, less knowing your father's work, and expound upon it. That's amazing.
Mhm.
So what, you're 7.5, I'm kind of an 8, but I'm gonna go 8.5 because of that. And I agree. If part two, like I said, if it does not hit at least 8, which I need it to cut even. If it cuts even, oh my god, that makes this series a 10.
Mhm. Right.
Like,
Yeah, yeah. I think it'll probably be around the same caliber, but we'll have to see in the future. But that averages the movie out to an 8, anyways. So
yeah,
we're in the ballpark of a decent film that you should definitely go watch.
yeah,
And don't be afraid to just watch it with the subtitles. And it's not you get used to it. It's not that difficult to follow along. Um, and yeah, Keelan and I had a great time reviewing it. So thank you guys so much for recommending it. And we hope that you enjoyed this review for Bahabuli, the beginning. Keelan, do you have anything else you wanted to say before I outro us?
thanks to everybody with the suggestions. We have plenty more. Thanks to everybody for the subscriptions, the comments, dropping in, dropping out. We appreciate it. Tell a friend. Tell them check us out. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
we really hope that you enjoyed these episodes, guys. We really just thought we were gonna make YouTube videos for nobody, or maybe something that we could look at when we're 80 and sort of reminisce about stuff. But we just appreciate any of you guys for taking the time to watch us, and so thank you guys so much. If you have any comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment box. We try to respond as much as possible, so let us know what you thought. Let us know if you have any recommendations for movies you'd like us to review. We're always open to your suggestions. Thank you again for engaging with us thus far. And we hope that we can make more great content for you guys, or good content. Doesn't have to be amazing, but as long as you're enjoying it, that's what we care about. So thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. We're here every Sunday and Wednesday, although weird things are happening with the TV verse right now. So Game of Thrones has us kind of in a Sunday obligation that we have to always do on Sunday, but the Rings of Power is premiering on Fridays. So we're really going to have to work this out. We might have to start doing our show Friday nights or Saturday at some point, but we'll let you know next week what we decide. But we're definitely going to be covering Rings of Power this week, so you're going to be seeing a lot of us. We'll be back to a regular schedule soon enough, but we got dueling shows going on right now that we want to cover both of. So we're just going to have to make those concessions, and it's such a rough life that we live. We have to watch TV shows.
I can't stand it.
I know, right? It's so difficult. It's so difficult. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate you out there. Tune in with us every Wednesday and Sunday. Also, we're going to add Fridays because we got Rings of Power. So check us out. Screen Time Continuum on Facebook, on YouTube. You can also check out our catalog of podcasts that we do. We got one for every day of the week. Go check us out on Think Ring Talks on Facebook. If you just check out all of the podcasts, that's where you can find it. Think Ring Talks on Facebook. But Tuesday nights, we got If Numbers Could Talk with Keelan. That's on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, all of that good stuff. If Numbers Could Talk, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays also is Dijon the Mustard with Strawberries and Coffee on Twitch. Be sure to go check him out. Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 10:30 p.m. Strawberries and Coffee on Twitch. We also have Exophathoms, which is on Friday nights at 8 p.m. You can catch us at Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and anywhere else at Exophathom. Friday nights, 8 p.m. Keelan's got another podcast Saturday morning with his wife, Bobby. It's called This Married Moment. And you can check that out at noon on Saturday on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Spotify at This Married Moment. Then come back to us on Sundays. We're always here Sunday nights, 8:30 p.m. at Screen Time Continuum. All right. I think that's it. Now go enjoy your evenings, everybody. And we'll catch you next time for Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick.
And I'm Keelan. You guys go ahead and get out of here now.
Get out of here now. Go on.
Yeah.
Told you, get out of here.